Hello, beautiful children. It is amazing to see you in my mind's eye. Are we ready to do the Parsha? Rolling back the time, and one more, rolling back the time, and one more, rolling back the time, and thinking and thinking and thinking. This Parsha is going to be Parshat Reeh, and we find it in the 5th book of the Torah called the Book of Devarim. And in this week's Parsha, it's all about kosher and non-kosher animals and fish and birds. And I'm just going to keep it to that, nice and simple. Or is it simple? But we don't mind complex, we don't mind hard, do we, children? Because we can learn together. So maybe you all know, and I've got my t-shirt on ready to do the Parsha. Maybe you all know the rules of kosher and non-kosher animals. Do you know them? Do you know them? And do you know which animals are mentioned in the Torah? So we know that the Torah mentions that the deer is a kosher animal. Wonder if we can, it's not quite clear from seeing that animal why it would be kosher. Another example, well, this isn't actually an ox, it's a bull, but it's also kosher. Not very clear either why that would be kosher. Let's have a look at another animal. Ooh, lots of them. There we go, that's one of the animals. That would be another example of the animal, sheep and lambs. Okay, even a ram. Okay, let's have another example of a kosher animal mentioned in the Torah. Hello, goat. Still not incredibly clear why that would be kosher. And of course, the lovely cow. Okay, kosher animals have split hooves and they chew the cud. So that is what makes them kosher. Kosher animals must have split hooves separated into two and chewing the cud. Chewing the cud means regurgitating, 5 syllables, sicking up. Have you ever seen babies sick up? Ugh, a bit yucky, but they do. It's very normal for them. And even if sometimes they sick up too much, they can get something to help them. It's called reflux. Chloe had it for many years. So it's regurgitating, but it's normal for the animals. They're used to it. So they bring up food that they've sort of swallowed down, partly digested, stored in a special pouch in their stomach, and they chew it over and over and over and over again before swallowing. And as I've said, kosher animals mentioned are deer, ox, sheep, cattle, and goats. So what about animals that chew the cud but don't have split hooves? I think in this week's Parsha they mention the camel, and they mention, I know this isn't really, but well, it is a rabbit, but I don't know if it could be called a hare, but rabbits and hares. And which other animal? Well, it's quite interesting. We're not sure quite what goes on with the badger, but I'm going to show you the badger. He doesn't make an entry in this week's Parsha, I think, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. So camels, hares and rabbits chew the cud, but don't have split hooves. Who else gets a mention? Well, the pig does have split hooves, but it doesn't chew the cud. Now let's go to rules for the fish. Kosher fish must have fins and scales. And if a fish has scales, we can assume, usually we shouldn't assume anything, but we can assume if a fish has scales that it's going to have fins, but not the other way around. So let's see if I can think of lots of examples of fish, and let's see if you can think of lots of examples of fish as I say it. So, sole, not S-O-U-L, but S-O-L-E, Dover sole, for example. It's an example of a kosher fish. Mackerel, it's quite an oily fish, example of a fish. Anchovy, sometimes that's a little bit sharp, but it's quite nice. Maybe some people have it on top of their pizzas or on top of salads. I don't really have anchovies very much. Carp, Now, when I was little, a lot of people used to have carp in our families for Shabbat, but I didn't really enjoy it or eat it. I was just used to gefilte fish. That was the mince fish, but I don't eat that either anymore, hardly. Tuna. Now, I love tuna, actually. I love canned tuna. I really love it. But the actual fish tuna, that's, well, obviously, if it's canned, it comes from the fish tuna, but you can have fresh tuna, which is also quite yummy. Herring. Don't have herring very much, but some people love herring. It used to be very popular many years ago at the Kiddush in shuls, and it's still popular when we had Kiddush in shuls. I think you could still get some herring every now and then. Trout, that's very similar to another fish called salmon for me, so they're kosher. Haddock, that's quite a yummy fish. Plaice, not P-L-A-C-E, the place you sit at, but plaice, P-L-A-I-C-E. Cod, halibut, bream, pollock, and sardine. That's loads of examples of fish. Maybe you know more. Now let's talk about birds, kosher and non-kosher birds. That's tricky because the Torah only gives us 24 non-kosher species of birds listed in the Torah. So, for example, if we didn't know it, the owl would be forbidden to us. Basically, birds of prey, we think. SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Medrash, that we're largely talking about birds of prey. So the Torah only lists 24 classes of non-kosher birds, but it doesn't give any signs. It is really hard to identify some of the birds listed. We don't even know them. SPS, some people say, as I said, aka also known as the Medrash, that we definitely cannot eat birds of prey. And it is disputed, it's argued, it's not quite clear. There are different rabbis on different sides saying different things, as usual, whether all birds must also have an extra toe, a crop. Now, a crop is, it's not a hairstyle, it's a muscular pouch in a bird's neck, just about above the top of the chest. I hope that's correct. And it is an enlargement of the esophagus. So maybe it's got to have that. And a gizzard. What's a gizzard? It's not a lizard, it's a gizzard. A gizzard is, again, a muscular part of the stomach, and it's found in the digestive tract where the animals digest, where the birds digest their food. And the kosher birds that we know today are the domesticated species of chicken, the domesticated species of duck. I don't have a domesticated geese to show you. I haven't got that. The next time I go to London Zoo, I'm a member there. I'm going to see if I can find geese. Will you remind me? And I don't have the turkeys. Will you remind me? I'll have to see if they've got, not obvious to take real animals home, but when I go into the gift shop and I've got a 10% discount, all the animals that you see and I show you, I've bought in the London Zoo. So I must try and find that, and also pigeons. Will you remind me next time I go to the zoo? I like to walk there, walk around and walk back. Do remind me. Okay, let's have a look at some laminates of all the animals then. So that's the deer, I think, that you've got there, and the mummy is called the roe. What type of fish can I show you here? The haddock. Can you see that? And what kind of bird? The turkey. Let's go to the next one. So I've done the deer, so I'm not going to show you a deer again. I'm going to show you a fish called a mackerel. And I can show you a laminate of a pigeon. Hopefully I won't keep showing you the same thing again and again. I'll try not to. You've seen the deer, so now I'm going to show you an example of the Dover sole. And you've seen the pigeon, so I'm not going to show it again. You've seen the deer. What example of fish am I going to show you? The carp. And this is a picture of a dove in flight. Right. You've not seen the sheep laminate, so here's the sheep laminate. And what fish am I going to show you? A herring. You've seen the sheep, so I'm not going to show you the sheep laminate. The tuna, and you've seen the turkey, I think, so I don't need to show you the turkey. There's the sheep laminate again. There's the trout, the trout fish. And I will show you this one. It's the duck. So there you go. So these have been, I think, I've shown you kosher fish and kosher birds. I'm not going to show you the sheep. I'm going to show you a cod. And here we are. Here's a goose, just relaxing. It's a kosher bird. Now I'm going to show you a kosher, an ox. It's a picture of an ox. And I can show you the pollock fish. And this is a chicken. Fantastic. I've shown you the ox already, so I'm going to show you a different kosher fish, the mullet. And I think I've shown you the chicken. So here's another kosher fish, the bream. And here's another kosher fish, the salmon. And now I've got another group of kosher animals, the goat. I'm not going to show you the goat each time, but let's move along with the fish. Here's what an anchovy looks like. You see the fins and scales each time. You should be shouting, "Of course I can see the fins and scales, Natalie," each time. Just in case I didn't show you, here's the duck. Let's find another kosher fish. That's the plaice. Let's show you another type of fish. That's the sardine. And you children can do this as well. You can draw kosher animals and even non-kosher animals, and you can label them so everybody can see what you're showing. And here's the salmon. So I hope you've enjoyed all those different kosher and non-kosher animals explanation and the laminates, and that you can go away and tell your mummies and daddies all the things that you've learned today. You're still on holiday. Enjoy your holiday. It's so amazing. Listen to your mummies and daddies and do what they say. Listen to your mummies and daddies. Please don't forget to pray. Listen to your mummies and daddies. The rabbis lead the way. Then they will be happy. See you again soon. Bye.